you might be saying, what is he doing with 24 Crayola crayons? How is that representing students? Well, if we look at a box of crayons, a simple box of crayons, we can see that there are 24 different colors in there. And a class size today in Texas could go up to 24. So you have 24 little individuals in your class. And notice I said individuals, because every student is different. Every student is going to come with his or her own way of thinking, his or her own way of behaving, his or her way of doing things. And that is something to take in consideration as a teacher. And then here is my way of thinking of, I call it a color theory, of how students will learn and the different levels of students in your classroom. So here you have your 24 crayons, your 24 individuals, everyone different. However, most of them will fit into some of these categories of learners. So you have the bright green here, or the lime green. That will represent your highest learner, the highest student or students in your classroom, that they learn quickly, that they are very independent, they get things done quickly, and I would consider this your high students. Next color, the dark green, that's your next highest students. Maybe not as high as the lime, but they're also kind of high. I would probably put GT students kind of in this category. However, GT students are really in their own category, to be quite honest, because you might have a really smart, independent thinker. However, what they produce may not always be exactly what you would think it would be, because they are such a high learner. So I'm going to just focus on these as learners. All right, so this is my highest learner. This is my second highest learner. Now these three, and I'm going to turn my phone, these three right here are the average students. Average students meaning that they're doing exactly what they're supposed to, performing at their level, in their grade level. So, but you also see three, because you will have a high average, you'll have a middle average, and then the low average. There's three different categories there for your average students. Then the yellow represents students that are maybe not on level, they're slightly below, that they can go either way, that they could either drop or that they can be on level. So this is your yellow, and then here comes your pink and your red. Now the red is the lowest performing student in your class. Many different factors could fall underneath there as far as why they're so low. It can be so many things, a learning disability. It could be because of home environment. It could be so many factors that this is the students that, of course, will have modifications, accommodations, those kinds of things. This student here would be next to the lowest level. They are also performing low, but they're not as low as this one, that you will have to make accommodations for, you will have to differentiate for, you will have to modify for. And then you have your students, each individual student, and they will fit in one of these categories that you will have to assess them, pre-assess them, and figure out, in a sense, what category they fall into. Now, why is this important? This is important because when you create your lessons and you differentiate, that it's important to separate these different learners. Some people want to say, well, just put them all in one and have them learn at one level. That's what they used to do years and years ago. And yes, we still got lawyers out of them. Yes, we still got doctors out of them. But however, the people that, or the students that we as educators did not address, what happened to them afterwards? What kind of jobs do they get afterwards? So by us kind of figuring out where they go in these different categories helps us really work with each individual level, each individual student. And you might have, for instance, you might have your highest performing students, and they might be in this category. So you might only have, let's say, 2 there. And then maybe you have a few that are here, right? So then you'll have 4 students there. And then here, you might have, let's say, 4 here. You might have about 5 here, okay? Sorry for the shaky camera. And then maybe you might have 3 here. And then you might have, let's say, 2 and 2 here, and maybe 2 here. So let's look at your students now. So you can see how important it is to really address these different learners. And then you also want to try to not only work with them at that level, but also try to challenge them to go up to another level. So you might want these students here to try to get up here if there's any possible way, you know, challenge them, work with them, see if you can raise their scores or raise their abilities to go up to this level. And same thing with over here. Of course, you want to move all these, you want to try to move these up. Now these guys down here, you really want to definitely try to work with them, try to get them here. And you want to try to get these 2 maybe over here, if at all possible, by the end of the year. And these are challenges as a teacher. This is something that a lot of teachers don't think about when they enter education. Unfortunately, some people might think about the summers off, and they might think of Christmas vacation or Thanksgiving off, and people think we have all this time, you know, during the year. But what they don't know is that during those times, what teachers usually do once you become a teacher, especially during the summer, you take staff development. And you're always learning different ways in how to work with students. It could be for academics, it could be for behavior, and you're always wanting to improve. So they're taking summer courses, and then there's planning during the summer for the year. Vacation times. You might even have teachers coming up on vacation times to work in their classroom, getting things done that they can't get done during the day. Why? Because they're always in meetings during their planning time. And so it allows for little time during the school day to get things done in your classroom, like organizing or cleaning certain things. People don't realize sometimes teachers have to clean parts of their own classroom. Custodians don't always clean every bit of their classroom. I know I have a room where my windows, sometimes the window ledges, I still see cobwebs in it, you know, and who's cleaning it? Then I have to clean it. Or dust above the shelves. You know, people don't think about those things. But you can see all the work that is involved here in working with students. And so it's a lot of time. It's very time consuming. And it's important because you can't just treat all kids at one level. The high kids would get bored. The low kids wouldn't follow. And so it's a lot of planning, a lot of differentiation goes on in a classroom when working with students. Can you tell I'm ready for retirement? So there is a lot of stuff as a novice teacher. If you're someone thinking about becoming a teacher out there, there's a lot of things to consider. Hopefully that little analogy or example with the crayons and the different colors helps you understand that you are not going into a classroom thinking you're going to teach the entire class at one level. There's going to be many different levels that you might have to put them in. And it's all about pre-assessing your students, making sure you know what level they are on and where to place them. And don't forget, there's different subjects. So you might have all these levels for reading. Let's say you're in a self-contained classroom where you teach all the subjects. So you might have different levels for reading, and then you'll have different levels for math. And they may not always be the same. You could have some really high readers, but low students in math. So all that stuff changes, and that is a lot of planning and a lot to think about. And there's a lot that goes into teaching. So once again, never ever say to a teacher, you have summers off or you have winter vacation or any of that. Because once again, teachers are still learning. They're still taking staff development during the summers. They're still working during the summers. I know as an art teacher, even that I'm a specials teacher now, there was one summer I worked on a mural for our school, and I spent a whole week working on a mural out in the heat. I was there at 7 a.m. and had to stop, this is Texas, had to stop by 11 because I was in sweat. A couple of times I thought I was gonna have a heat stroke. And so I'm doing that during my summer vacation. So again, don't ever say that to a teacher about you have times off. That's the worst thing you can say, because teachers are underpaid. Teachers are overworked. Teachers, the stress level, people have no clue. And we're doing it. Why do we do it? Because we care about kids. We want to help kids. We want kids to grow and learn. And we want kids to, we feel that there needs to be some, in a sense, consistency in their life. So for some kids, they don't have that at home, that their family life is not, I mean, there's certain situations. Don't forget, I've been teaching 27 years, and I'll never forget many, many years ago. I mean, I had a student where his father was in jail. There was a time I taught in Carrollton Farmers Branch, and let's just say the mother had a very interesting occupation. And so these kids come from, not all, but some kids come from these home lives that are really horrible. So school is the only place where they might feel safe, where they have an adult there that cares about them, and they'll get that for at least 8-9 hours a day. That's important. So don't ever say to a teacher, you have summers off, or you have Christmas vacation or something like that. Worst thing you can say. All right, well, thank you so much for joining us, and we're going to continue with my countdown to retirement. And this was vlog number 5.